Hello and welcome to the Caerusnet podcast. I've got with me today someone that I've been looking forward to having on the podcast for a while. It's Connor Messina from Health Markets. Connor, glad to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, so Connor is a little bit of a unusual Caerusnet member. He's not like every Caerusnet member. He is deep into CRTS. He's facilitates his own team. He's still a member on a team, or more possibly. He'll kind of go through his approach today. But he's been in the network for several years, and he's gone on to start his own CRSnet team like me. He's also had some geographic changes as well too. No longer just in Michigan. So there's going to be a lot of stuff in this podcast I think we can all learn from. First and foremost, Connor, I am absolutely curious. If I could have been a fly on the wall to hear how it went down, who was it that told you about CirrusNet first? How did you hear about it, and how did they say it in a way that made you curious about wanting to learn more?
It's a great question, and I have to go back to the memory bank at this point because I believe I've been a part of SiriusNet for 6 or 7 years going on at this point, and I think that Wendy Caverly was the individual that introduced me to SiriusNet in general. If I remember correctly, I was in a position in my business where I was pretty heavily involved in BNI and just was kind of not wanting to be a part of the chapter that I was in, looking for something else. I knew that I loved networking. That was a huge passion of mine. It was the best avenue of growth for the business. So it was like, how can I find something that's similar to BNI that's not BNI and really grow from there? So Wendy had, I believe, had me visit one of her groups. And I mean, the rest is history. As you said, I facilitate my own group. I'm actually a part of four uh, groups total, which is, a good amount to balance, but referrals have to go everywhere, no matter what. But yeah, I mean, I dove head first. I really liked the structure. BNI has its benefits. Don't get me wrong. But if the return on investment is going to be there on both ends, and one end has less responsibility, less mundane tasks, a couple other things, it's like, let me choose the one that's going to be more beneficial, especially time wise.
Yeah, that's a huge issue. Time is the one thing we can't get back, and our ability to be efficient and yet intentional is, I think, the new normal. Like for me, there's no such thing as just winging it anymore. It's you've got to be super intentional in the people you reach out to and what you're doing with them. And today's world's all about time efficiency for me. And as much as I loved doing the meetings in person when I was doing them, I certainly don't miss the hundreds of miles of drive time and getting stuck in traffic, and sometimes lots of schmoozing and whatnot that can make a 1 hour meeting take up an entire morning for somebody, right?
Very much true. The convenience of Zoom after COVID really changed my ability to network first and foremost, right? I mean, at that time, like I said, I was in a BNI group. My BNI group met about 55 minutes away from where I was located. So for that hour and a half meeting, it also required almost 2 hours of drive time. Like you said, that's the entire morning. We're talking about 3+ hours of chunk of time gone for an hour and a half of networking. And now the hour and a half of networking is great, but it's not efficient, right? So you hop on Zoom, you can prepare 5 minutes before and 5 minutes after, and that time frame is still the same amount of time to network.
Yeah, and one of the cool things that I've noticed is when we used to do it in person, Connor, I have my groups are very well blended. I'll have a financial posse of people that are all seeing people for financial stuff, right? I've got another posse of people that are on the team for home services, like heating and cooling and stuff like that. And then there's business services, right? Like business coaching, podcasting, and stuff like that. And each one of these posses is really important to help a team grow. And I think that that's that to me is also, equally important that you're meeting with the team that's got diversity as well, and that it's not just the same everybody that you're just like. Sometimes there's really interesting things happening in other sectors as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're filled with a group of everyone. Now, it's a double-edged sword, right? I feel like connections can grow stronger if you're filled with people that are like-minded and run their business like you. But obviously, diversification is a philosophy that everyone preaches, multiple avenues in life. So yeah, I mean, it's going to expand your comfort zone. That's for sure. And I'm a firm believer that if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Great point. So one neat thing happened is that you went on to facilitate your own CirrusNet team. So maybe share with us the details of the team that you're facilitating. You're obviously, a health insurance expert, and you're the person that's occupying that, obviously, as the facilitator. But what were the reasons you chose to facilitate your own team? And what is it you feel that you're getting value out of from doing that?
Yeah. So wanted to facilitate my own team for a couple reasons. One, I like what I like, right? So I wanted to be able to structure things the way that I felt was going to be most advantageous for growth, business passing, connecting, whatever, right? I wanted to do it the way that I felt was going to be best. On top of that, the intention to start my own group was because I had networked for so long, 7 years, right? 7 years, you grow a lot of connections. Well, what I wanted to do is I wanted to take the best of the best connections that I already had and form a group with it, right? If you got the best financial advisor and the best PNC agent and the best, whatever, I just think that that was the most advantageous route for growth for everybody. A group of heavy hitters, if you will, because there are people that are part-time networkers, and those are beneficial too, but not always beneficial to be in a full-time networking group with a part-time networker.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think like in your vision, bringing together your power people, one of the benefits there is regular engagement. You stay more on top of each other's minds because you see each other regularly as well too. And then
Yep.
also, in the CirrusNet curriculum, we do have a toolbox to try to help people. We all know everybody comes to CirrusNet because they want referrals. What we need to do is help them develop their skill set so they can be a great referral partner for other people, the right kind of follow up, sending clients on their own, uh, do all those things that you need to do to make it so this sort of an environment can work for you. Otherwise, if we just bring everybody together in one room and all we want is referrals, but nobody knows how to do it,
Yeah.
it's going to be that disconnect, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. That actually stemmed two thoughts in my head that I think are important to highlight. And one, I didn't want to have a group as a facilitator where I was starting from scratch in terms of the teaching phase, right? So to have a group of heavy hitters, to that point, it was these people already know how to network because they've grown their business through networking as well. So there is no like need on a weekly basis to rehash, how's the right way to pass a referral? Because we have people in this group that know exactly how to pass a referral, and there's different ways that you can do it that are going to benefit someone else, accordingly. On top of that, I kind of wanted to make sure that the group was stable in terms of relationship, right? So you can join a networking group with people who you're tasked to get to know for networking purposes. But this group was a group of people that we all kind of had mutual connections. We were all already friends. So it's not just a networking group, right? I'm in a fantasy football league with a couple members. We go out to lunch, we hang out, we're buddies. So it's more than just networking purposes, which is a really important factor, I believe, because everybody knows that you cannot send a referral to somebody, or you don't want to send a referral to someone that you don't know, like, and trust.
Yeah,
Well, who do you know, like, and trust more than your own best buds?
yeah, especially because, when you invest time to help send the referral the right way. You've gotten the client engagement going, yes, please have the person call me. You've done all that stuff. You certainly want to have people that are going to follow up with that client, make you shine for sending the referral. Like, obviously, anytime I meet with somebody that's been referred to me, whoever sent that referral to me is the first person we talk about when I get ready to start that meeting, because I want to be sure that person gets some props
Yep.
for not just being a bump on a log, but being somebody that actually greases the wheels and makes the connections, because people remember who refers them to good people. So you're also a little bit like me. I used to live in Michigan 100% full time for the first 51 years of my life. But in 2021 September, we drove 2,000 miles from Howell, Michigan to Sierra Vista and moved here, and been here for 4 years now, this past September. And so all of my team meetings, I don't have a choice, right? Like they're online, they're on Zoom. So I'm really trying to find people that are great with use of time, very mindful. It is looking for a specific person, in my opinion, that's going to really flourish in this environment, a very intentional person. So kind of outline for our audience, you've also made a little bit of a move as well too. Maybe you can kind of showcase how that went down and what your thought process was.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it didn't take me 51 years. It took me a lot less than that because I quickly realized that the cold is not, it's just not for me. So I guess you can consider myself an early snowbird at this point because I did move to Florida, moved my family down here. However, I grew my business in Michigan, so I knew that the necessary sacrifice of being able to move to Florida was that I have to continuously come back to Michigan because the business still needs to be serviced. So yes, my primary address is in Florida, but I mean, in 8 days from now, I will be traveling back to Michigan, and I will be there for a full 2 week period because it's open enrollment, annual enrollment. So we're firing on all cylinders. The business still needs to be handled. So yes, I'm in Florida. Yes, I'm also in Michigan. Will call myself, an early snowbird.
Well, the funny thing is, you know, I network all the time. I mean, I'm meeting people all the time, building relationships with people that have been, reciprocity, helping each other. People that I've never had the pleasure yet of like putting the hand out and physically shaking the hand. But when that does happen, when I come back to Michigan in July or whatever, that handshake means a lot. It feels great. And, but I don't ever want people to misunderstand that as long as any relationship you're building with people is honest, intentional, and your follow-up is good, and you're bringing value to each other, you don't have to be sitting in a chair right next to each other all the time like it'd be in
Definitely.
any meeting, right, Connor?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Now, don't get me wrong, I value that face-to-face connection. I think most people do, but Zoom is a great alternative. It's much better than just a phone call because I mean, even for business purposes, I don't run appointments over the phone. It's if it's not face to face, it's over Zoom, so I can at least see you and I can see that you're understanding the information that I'm presenting. It's hitting home. If we're just on the phone, you could be driving in your car, you could be walking your dog, you could be in the middle of making dinner. So I'm just talking to a brick wall at that point, right? Just like your background. As long as we're on Zoom, I can at least see that you're paying attention, right? You could have something up on your screen that's in the background, right? Maybe distracting you a little bit, but I can at least see the facial expressions and understand, okay, the information is being received.
Yeah, absolutely. And there will be a day eventually when, we put these on and push a little button on the side. And then the next thing like you and I are sitting on a couch next to each other,
Right.
really feels like 3D. And
Have you ever were you a Star Wars guy?
I loved Star Wars. I was
Okay,
more of a
so
Star
what
Wars
I
than Star
always
Trek.
see as the advancement in the future, which I would think would be really cool, is like when the Jedi Council is doing their meetings, right? And like you're not there, but your entire body hologram, I guess, is there. I don't think we're close to something like that at this point, but I mean,
It's
That's
coming.
the advancement after Zoom, right? I can see you via camera right now, but let me see the digital image of you right in front of me in this actual room.
That's right. Yeah, and I believe that will definitely happen in our lifetimes for sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't before the end of this decade that that kind of
Yeah.
technology
I
is happening.
mean, as quickly as technology advances,
So
that's
the
like,
other, yeah, the other benefit that I've noticed, one of the things that I was going to key on earlier just a little bit, but I think lost my train of thought just a second, was the other benefit that I've noticed for doing it over Zoom is when I used to do it in person, it was always still the same stuff happens in a team, the stuff that you're happy about, and then some of the stuff you got to kind of squash a little bit and get rid of. But what I noticed was is in Michigan, a lot of your home services businesses are seasonal, right? Lots of seasons in Michigan, and you might have a business like a landscape install company. They're not installing landscapes, from the time frost hits the ground until the next spring and the frost is done. They're, lining up their jobs. Maybe they've got some snow plowing or some other things, but beyond that, there's seasons in Michigan. And one of the cool things that I've noticed is doing it with this technology has made it so my trades don't miss hardly at all. Back in the days when they could only be one place at one time, now they can actually be on a job site and they're doing their CRTS meeting. They go to their crew and they go, hey, I got to go make us some money and go do some marketing and
right.
networking. I'm going to
Even
go
if
jump.
it's in the car, right,
Yeah,
for an hour meeting, you're still on, you're actively engaged. That's a great point. The seasonal or yeah, I guess seasonal is the right word. Employee. I mean, that's the same for myself. Or if you consider like an accountant, right, during the tax season for me during the open enrollment season, I might not be able to step away from my schedule to do an in-person meeting that's going to take 3 hours of my calendar, but I certainly can hop on Zoom for 30 minutes to an hour, right? So that convenience there, it's cuts down drive time. So in the middle of my busy season, I can run an hour meeting and go right into the next hour meeting back to back to back to back to back. I mean, that's what my calendar looks like tomorrow, right? I have 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. There's no drive time there. It's just filled with complete productivity, right? For that CPA in the middle of tax season, they're not going to be able to step away from the office for a weekly meeting once, to have to drive there back and have the meeting. It's just not going to be feasible. But they might be able to step away for just an hour on the dot.
Absolutely. No, I had an accountant join one of my teams that was a previous CirrusNet member. Not going to say any names, but I saw that he had registered for the CirrusNet breakfast in July, and I was so happy to see him there. We shook hands, and it was just great to see him. I followed up when I got back to Arizona to kind of catch up with him. When I reached out to him, he was quick to tell me, "Steve, I'm not rejoining." And I'm like, well, that's not why I was calling you. Actually, I was calling just to tell you how great it was to see you at the breakfast, uh, see how your family's doing, what you're doing with work these days, and just catch up. That's all. I just wanted to catch up. But he was pretty clear to tell me he wasn't doing it simply for those reasons that you said, all the drive time, all of that stuff. It's really hard for him to shift gears like that physically all over the place.
Yeah.
And then he went and visited one of my teams, and he was previously part of the in-person incarnation of CirrusNet, coming back now after we've been on Zoom for 5+ years. And he couldn't believe how awesome the meeting was that I ran. He
Yeah.
joined, he's like, at the end of the meeting, he goes, I'm joining. And I'm going, I'm glad you brought it up.
You're like, actually, that is why I called you. Thank you.
Well, I just knew that if, he found it his way, we had a better opportunity. So, listen, as we wrap up this interview, I always like to ask people that have had some time and experience now in the wild world of networking, referrals, and connections. Brand new CirrusNet member. You're sitting down having a trust builder with them, and they go, Connor, you've done this for a little while. What is the single best advice that you could give me so I have a good start in CirrusNet and can keep going?
um, I would say the best piece of advice is to actually network the right way, or I guess better yet, better worded, put the work in, right? Because everybody is tasked with coming to the meeting once bi-weekly, weekly if you do it, whatever it may be, right? We'll call it bi-weekly. Once every 2 weeks, everyone is tasked to meet for 1 hour and network. What are you doing outside of that? And if your only piece of work is to come every other week and network for 1 hour, you're probably going to be unhappy with the business that you receive from that. It's the work that you put in outside of the hour scheduled meeting. It's the one-to-ones, the trust builders, the building relationships, right? That's like the biggest focal point that I can stress. Networking isn't designed to just grow your business. It's designed to help everybody involved grow. So if your intention is to just go and get business and not do the extra work, you're probably going to be disappointed with the outcome. But if you go and you do your trust builders and all the things that are advantageous for relationship building, like you'll probably be pretty surprised what your ROI becomes, and that continues to grow as your network continues to grow. So to sum it up, the best piece of advice for me is to do the right work.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the common things that my team members hear me say at my meetings is it's what happens in between
Right.
the CirrusNet meetings that makes CirrusNet special. The
Sure.
CirrusNet meeting is our sense of community. So we all come out of our stores and say, hey, here's what's going on in my world. Here's who I've been helping, right? Give each other some shout outs for some referrals and jobs well done. But if that's all a person does, like you said, while I do breakout sessions during my meetings and want to give people those forced conversations, right? And while I also have meetings where they do nothing but schedule those trust builders during the meetings, otherwise, I know if I just leave it up to each person individually, they're getting pulled in so many different directions in life.
Yeah.
That's why the meetings are important, but equally, it's what you do in between those meetings, having those meaningful trust builders, practicing referral language a little bit. When somebody gives you that compliment and says, Connor, man, nobody has provided for us the services at the level that you provide it. That's why we love you and why we're back with you this year. And then, you got to learn how to say, hey, that's music to my ears. All of my clients are referrals. My hope and goal is if you know somebody who needs my services, you'll be quick to pass my information along and let me help them too, because my whole business is referral driven. Thank you for the compliment.
Biggest compliment you can give me is a referral.
But when a person says that and they go, oh, Connor, you did such a good job, and you just go, well, hey, I'm glad to hear that. You were a good client to work with too. And that's the end of it. You're missing all those chances to bring up other people. Hey, I also noticed this was going on, or what other plans do you have going on this year? Anything big and exciting happening, right? It's
Yeah.
like so many things to ask, but you got to practice it.
Yeah, typically if you just listen to understand, uh, you can be a master connector because the people will always tell you what they need. It's your job to go and find that need or match that need, better yet.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can, kind of put other people's needs right up there with your own. Doug Moffat's got a great saying, but it's hard for a lot of people to process. It's called give without keeping score.
I
And
like that.
yeah, and it's like I'm the same way. I make referrals happen because I know it's the right thing to do. And I've done this long enough now that I just have the belief and faith that by doing that, I'm creating my own future opportunities too. Faith is, when you wake up in the morning, you have faith that the floor is there when you put your feet on it and you're going to stand up, right? You don't look and see if the floor is there in the morning when you get out of bed. You have faith that's there the same way I have faith in the referral building process. Connor Messina from Health Markets, CirrusNet member, CirrusNet Facilitator. If you got any questions and want to get a hold of Connor, all of his contact information is in the drop down description for this video. Connor Messina, thanks for your time today. Thanks for all you're doing in CirrusNet.
Thanks for having me, Steve. Appreciate it.
Perfect.